So I told you guys that we would be double dipping into Show Me a Rig this month, February 2019, and here we are, the second episode of the month to make up for January when we weren't able to do one just because of all the CES craziness. But overall, this is season number 2, episode number 7. Now, just as we have been doing all season long, we will still be featuring some custom water-cooled builds here and there. However, those systems will not be eligible for the end of season prize. That award will go to either a system that uses an air cooler or an AIO to cool the CPU. This is just to kind of give everybody a fair shake, and next season there will be maybe some different stipulations on who can win the prize. If you have some suggestions for what maybe I should do for next season, leave them down below in the comments and I will consider it. Now, I do get a lot of emails from all of you and I do very much appreciate it. However, I cannot respond to everybody. It just is not really feasible, but I do appreciate it. This show would not exist without you. Now, if you guys want to be a part of the show, this is the email address right up here. Write it down, don't forget it. Make sure you send me in as many high quality photos as you can of your system, along with the system specs, your name, what you use the system for, and anything else that might be pertinent that I might want to talk about on the show. A bit of advice for you guys: if you're looking to send in your build, the higher quality the photos, the more likely you are to be featured. With all the administrative stuff out of the way though, let's roll through the intro and take a look at system number 1 by Adels. System number 1 is by Adels N. Now, Adels, if I am butchering your name, I apologize, and I also apologize that I keep saying it, Adels. But Adels has a very clean white build, and it starts with a Corsair Carbide 275R tempered glass edition case. Inside, he's got an i7 6700K, a GTX 1070 Ti Hall of Fame. Man, I love those Hall of Fame cards. 8 gigabytes of DDR4 2400 memory, an Asus Z170 Sabertooth S motherboard, that was their white version, an ID Cooling Icemo AIO, Western Digital Blue 1TB hard drive, a Samsung 840 EVO 120 gigabyte SSD, and the power is by Cooler Master, the MWE Gold 650. Now, Adels did not give us a whole lot of photos here. I just have 4 of them. But you could tell just by looking at them that there's not a whole lot to critique here. He has done a fantastic job on this build. Everything looks super clean and super matched. Now, I have mentioned before on the channel that when you have a white system, a mainly all white build, any lighting that you put inside of that build, especially RGB effects, are just kind of going to be amplified because they're bouncing off all of the surfaces. White is much more reflective than a black case might be. So when you have a case like this, you don't necessarily need a whole bunch of lighting inside, and it will automatically look super bright and super vibrant. Just take a look at this photo, for instance. He has a lighting strip down here. However, the only other lighting in the case is just the fans, and everything just looks really bright. I don't really know what this is over here. I don't think the AIO needs any kind of support. It shouldn't anyway. So maybe this is just for decoration. I mean, after all, you do have a figurine in there too, and you just kind of maybe slapped a Hall of Fame sticker on there or something like that. I mean, it doesn't look bad. I just don't know what it is. And I suppose if you can put figurines and other things in your case, why not a big white stick too? I mean, why not, right? To each his own. The only thing that I could say that I see here is that you have these the fan cables actually running out the front, or at least this fan runs out the front of this fan, and you have it kind of wrapped around here, and it comes back and goes behind the motherboard tray. If you just spun this fan around and had this in the back, you wouldn't see this at all, and you wouldn't have to worry about hiding this cable run. But other than that, I mean, this is just a super clean build. The white cables really complete it. The Sabertooth S motherboard, I kind of miss the old Sabertooth boards from Asus. They don't make those anymore, as far as I know. Anyway, yeah, this is a great looking system from any angle. And it's a very simple build. It's just a 1070 Ti and a 6700K. It's still gonna game fantastically. It's still a 1440p gaming machine for sure, and it looks great. White builds are always something that I am kind of drawn to. But Adel, you did a great job. Thank you so much for sending in these pictures. And again, I hope I'm not butchering your name. System number 2 today is from Brad M. And Brad keeps it short and sweet and writes, Brian, this is my build in its current form. Soon a new case will be purchased and the custom Waterloop adventures will begin. He's got a Fractal Design Meshify C Dark TG Edition case, an AMD Ryzen 7 1800X, an Asus ROG Strix X370F gaming motherboard, a GTX 1080 Ti Founders Edition card, a 2x8 gig kit of G.Skill Trident Z RGB DDR4 3000, a Samsung 860 EVO for boot, a Samsung SSHD 2TB drive for mass storage, the Thermaltake Ring 12 RGB fans, and an FSP Hydro GE 650 power supply. So let's take a look here at Brad's system in the Meshify C. The first thing that I thought, the first word that came to mind when I saw this photo was clean. This is a very cleanly done system with a lot of really nice aesthetic choices that I'm not entirely convinced were the main focus of this build, especially because he chose the dark TG variant of the Meshify C. That window is super hard to see through. It is very dark. So even though there's some lighting in here, you probably don't see very much when you're looking at this case with the window on. And I think that a lot of the decisions that were made here were probably made more for function than for form, but I am hypothesizing here. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, all I could say is that there's really nothing that I would necessarily want to change or move around or route differently or anything like that. I think that this is a very well put together system. It seems very well thought out. The sleeve cables really are kind of the cherry on top here. They obviously match your green color scheme. They're routed very neatly. I like the kind of the swooping effect. I tend to do that on a lot of my builds too. Fan cabling is going in the right spot. You got the EPS cable just kind of tucked away up in the corner here. Yeah, this is just a really solid, very clean, very functional build. I'm sure this the fans up here give you some nice airflow going this way. Interesting choice to not put any exhaust on the top, but the fact that there are no exhaust fans up here means that the airflow pathway is actually just straight through, because this fan on the CPU cooler actually moves air in this direction from front to back. So you have the airflow just flowing straight through and out the rear of the case. And I would assume you don't face any thermal challenges this way either. But you just often don't see cases without any roof exhaust. It's just kind of a common thing that's done now. I mean, I do it all the time. But other than that, I mean, again, this is not a whole lot for me to critique here, but I just wanted to show you guys Brad's build because I think he did a fabulous job on it, and maybe you guys can draw some inspiration from it. Air cooled, you don't see that a lot anymore either. So good job, Brad. I think this is a great looking build, and we're gonna move on to our final system. Lastly, we have Bo, and Bo lives in Sydney, Australia. He says, I built this system for high-end gaming, but sometimes a bit of video editing too. I've always had a passion with building custom computers and was self-taught via watching tech YouTubers like yourself. Oh. My favorite game genre is first-person shooters, mainly the Battlefield franchise. You'll notice that I have a black and white theme going on, but the benefit of having RGB hardware installed is that you can always mix it up here and there whenever you want. I say that all the time. The reason I'm using an AIO and not a custom water loop is because I'm way too nervous to do it, but this gets the job done. Hope you like the build, Bo. All right, Bo, looks like you got a really awesome setup here. Let's see what is in it. So you got a Fentex Evolve X Anthracite Gray chassis, an Intel i7-7820X processor, Corsair H115i cooler, an Asus X299 ROG Rampage 6 Extreme motherboard, G.Skill Trident Z RGB 32 gigs, that's a 4x8 kit. He's got SLI GTX 1080 for the win 2 cards from EVGA. He's got a Samsung 960 EVO 250 gig drive for his OS. He's got another 2 terabyte 960 EVO for games, Corsair AX1200i power supply, 6 Corsair LL140 fans, and CableMod Pro Mod Mesh carbon cables. Man, this is spiffy looking. Here is your setup that you sent in, which is not a requirement, but I wanted to feature it anyway because It looks great. You've got color matching basically everything, peripherals, headset, speakers. You've even got a home pod over here. You've got the same Apple Watch band that I do, which really means nothing, but is still pretty cool. You've got a color matched chair to your system, but we are mainly focused on this right over here in the corner, which is the PC. So let's take a closer look at that in the Evolve X, which was one of the best cases from last year. I did a monthly build in that, I think in December. But I can see that, so while you have most of the effects in the system on, well, I guess there are some rainbow effects in here. I thought you had mentioned that your lighting effects were white. Maybe this was a picture taken before you had changed all the effects, because obviously the front and the side here are rainbow. But just from this angle, everything looks pretty good to me. Oh, so here everything is white. So it must have been like, this is maybe when you first set it up, and then we swapped everything over to white, and now everything looks a little bit different, but still very, very clean. And this picture he sent me, and I left it in here because it's just so different. This is a great photo, I think. I think that I'm not a photographer, but I think this qualifies as a really cool photo. This is just an angle and a focal distance and I don't know, a framing that you don't ever see when it comes to PC case photography. I mean, these are the memory DIMMs here, and then this is the IO cover on the Rampage 6 Extreme, and this right here is the fan frame. So this is the rear of the case, and these are the two DIMMs that are to the left of the CPU. But this photo just kind of struck me as being really creative. It doesn't really show us very much about the case or the build, but it was a cool enough photo that I wanted to include it. So here is your Corsair H115i and your SLI'd EVGA for the Win 2 GTX 1080s. When the 1080s first came out, I built a system with SLI 1080s, and it was a monster build. These things are still, like, if you have two of them, I mean, it's still going to destroy any game that can take advantage of SLI. These cables are really well trained and really precisely run. They kind of waterfall off of the front of the GPUs and then down to, there's a grommet down here on the power supply shroud. But this is, unfortunately, this is the last photo that we have here. So I don't have any like square side shots of this to kind of demonstrate stuff or talk about more. But to be honest, just taking a look at this, or maybe this, this is a better photo. This system obviously had some serious care and thought put into it, and the fact that you've not only coordinated all your build and your components and your cabling, but obviously also your entire desk setup too. Mad props to you, sir. This is another fabulous looking build, and I'm curious, guys, what do you think was the best system from today? Because it is very difficult for me to decide. They all had their strong points. But Bo, you did a great job here, and man, this just looks great. And your photography's on point too, so much appreciated for that. So we wrap up episode number 7 of season 2 of Show Me Your Rig with 3 fantastic builds from Bo, from Brad, and from Idle. Thank you so much, guys, for sending me your builds. If you want to be a part of the show, once again, this is the email address right here. Photos, name, system specs, what you use it for, anything else that might be relevant. You know the deal. We talked about it before. We are approaching the end of the season where you guys are going to have to choose a winner. So that is something to look forward to. Make sure you get subscribed to the channel if you are not already. Check out the merch store, link down below, all that good YouTube-y stuff. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.